It doesn't just start with a driver that can stand on the gas.
We're not racing, we're building constantly.
We make about 300 horsepower with a V6 motor.
Hi, I'm Rutledge Wood. You may remember me from the last video I did on this channel, the history of the Toyota Crown. Well, I'm back to discuss more Toyota history with this, the Toyota Tundra TRD Rally Edition, which is a special edition for 2025, and this one even has the optional TRD Performance Package. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let me take you back to the 1950s to explain how this homage to the TRD name came to be and why it's so special. It all started in 1957 when Toyota was making big moves. They had just become the first Japanese automaker to enter the American market with the Toyopet Crown. And to carry on with that momentum, they decided to get into racing. So they started Toyota Racing Corner, better known as TOSCO, to create a purpose-built car named the Toyopet Crown Deluxe to compete in the grueling Round Australia Rally. Now, much like their entrance into the American auto market, they faced some challenges, although they still finished 47th out of 86. But in typical Toyota fashion, they doubled down and became determined to be a serious competitor in automotive racing. TOSCO continued to produce race cars into the 1960s while they prepared for the first ever Japanese Grand Prix in 1963. And by this point, they had 3 race cars, the Crown, Corona, and the Publica. All 3 were entered into the various events and all 3 won their class. Now, this is where things start to get interesting. Because of their racing success, they felt they needed to bring that performance to market. They'd already tested the waters with their first production sports car, the Sports 800, but they decided to partner with Yamaha to create Japan's first ever supercar, the 2000 GT. And by 1967, it was released to consumers and became one of the most iconic sports cars of all time, and was even featured in the James Bond film You Only Live Twice. On their next venture, TOSCO and Yamaha partnered again to create the Toyota 7, which went on to get a respectable 8th place in the 1968 Japanese Grand Prix, and led them to create what is believed to be the very first twin-turbo race car in history, the Turbo 7. Unfortunately, new emissions policies and Grand Prix rules blocked them from competing, but again, they didn't give up. And in 1973, amidst an international oil crisis, they went on to create the turbocharged Celica, which won the Fuji 1,000 kilometer race and firmly planted them into the world of automotive racing. Now, what happened next is what changed the course of history for Toyota's racing division. In 1976, they decided to change the name of TOSCO to Toyota Racing Development, aka TRD. And they began selling parts to consumers. At first, they were only available in Japan, but quickly moved to other Asian markets. Most importantly, the Philippines, where Toyotas were very popular. Meanwhile, back here in the US, there was still a lot of emissions and safety regulations, so Toyota USA was reluctant to import these parts. And that gap in the TRD parts market was filled by 2 young Filipino Toyota racers, Joel and Joji Luce, who created a little company they called TRD USA. And they began importing TRD parts from the Philippines. TRD Japan continued to be very successful, racing all over the globe in the World Rally Championship, earning the Celica the nickname King of Africa. They were also in Group C sports car racing and even placed second in the 1994 24 Hours of Le Mans, hinting at future dominance. But we're here to talk about the red, orange, and yellow TRD that Americans love and know so well, TRD USA. Am I right? Meanwhile, the Luce brothers continued to grow the TRD USA business, eventually getting parts into most of the Toyota dealerships across America. And finally, In the early 80s, Toyota Motor Sales USA saw the value, purchased the company from the Luce brothers, and opened the TRD facility in Costa Mesa, where they still, to this day, design and manufacture Toyota's NASCAR racing engines and develop, manufacture, and source TRD consumer parts for the American market. Now, in 1981, Toyota entered an American Motorsports Series for the first time with a Celica that raced in the GTU class, working with legendary racer Dan Gurney. The team eventually expanded its operations in the series over the following years and even won the GTO class in 1987 with driver Chris Cord. But none of this is as important as what one man did for the TRD name, Ivan Ironman Stewart. And I think I can hear him coming now. Ivan, thanks for joining us.
Oh, Rutledge, thank you for the invitation. I appreciate you inviting me up.
Quite an entrance there in the truck.
Well,
Wow.
I tell you what, I wish I had 2 seats. I'd take you for a ride.
You and me both, brother. You know, we brought you out here to talk about your TRD racing history, but before we do that, what do you think of this new Tundra TRD Rally Edition?
Well, as I drove up right off the bat, I really like the stance, and I really like the graphics on it. But no, to me, it's got to look tough and reliable. And this truck, as I drove up, it's got the look that
Absolutely.
I like. I'd buy one.
Absolutely. You know what? I think we should take it for a spin.
Could you let me drive it?
Yes, you can drive, Iron Man. I'll ride passenger. Now, I understand at first you were a little hesitant to come to Toyota. What changed your mind ultimately?
Well, I think it was probably the horsepower. I mean, I was racing off-road, and I had met gold, and I was winning races and driving for domestic trucks. And Toyota at the time only had 4-cylinder motors, and I knew that. And then Cal Wells, the guy that I drove for years and years, and he promised me that one day he would build me a truck, a better, faster truck than those domestic trucks. Well, that sold me on it, okay. And he offered me some money to drive, and I said, okay, let's go for it. And we tried it for a year, and then I won the championship for Mickey Thompson, and we was on our way.
How long did it take for people to realize that Toyota, who had been making smaller trucks here, they were going to be this force in off-road? Because that was so much of what y'all did was...
Yeah, that wasn't until probably about 1985 when we built our first 4-cylinder desert racing trucks. And we did some pretty spectacular things with that truck. Then I won the championship in probably about 1986 with the 4-cylinder motor. That was, people were really talking then, because to take and build a truck to race off-road and beat Ford, Dodge, Chevrolet, and those folks, it was pretty spectacular.
Okay, I gotta know, how did the coolest video game of all time, Super Off-Road, how did that happen?
I won a race in San Diego at the Jack Murphy Steak. And the next day I'm having sushi in a sushi bar, and I hear these computer programmers down there, young guys, talking about working on this arcade game. So I went down and introduced myself, because at that time I was starting to learn about marketing and advertising and all that. And I got them to introduce me to their boss and convinced him that we should be doing an arcade game. And he did. We're still friends, and it was the #1 arcade game, I think, in 1989.
In the world?
Worldwide, yeah. #1, Super Off-Road. Yeah, it was great
I
to be part
can't
of that.
tell you, I remember going to our local pizza restaurant and seeing your truck, this Toyota that I knew, and now I can race my friends. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was fantastic to be a part of that. I mean, I went anywhere I went in the world, eventually you'd find one of those games.
So tell me about 1993. What was so special about that year?
Well, that year we were already winning races. I mean, people knew in off-road racing we were a team to be reckoned with. But I won the Baja 500 overall, the Baja 1000 overall, and the Mint 400, which was in Las Vegas and billed as the world's roughest race. So to win those three, triple crown of off-road racing in 1 year was really, really cool. That's a big memory. But yeah, people were noticing, and we were getting a lot of attention, and I was having great fun. And then it wasn't long before they start talking a V8. Ooh, wait till we get a V8, boys. You guys will really be in trouble.
So these Tundras are obviously a little bit different from the old trophy trucks that you used to race. I mean, when we look around, we've got a leather-wrapped TRD steering wheel, these TRD seats, 14-inch monitor here. We've got the knee lift assist power tailgate. It even has the available Wi-Fi camera setup. So when you look at a vehicle like this, without all these creature comforts, how is it you were able to drive in the Baja 1000 all by yourself?
Well, I think what it is more than anything is that once you do anything, especially off-road racing, I think, because you learn how to do it without using a lot of energy. You learn how to do it by taking care of the vehicle, because you can feel it. I mean, it's just my habit is to feel the engine and I can feel that there's no kickback in the steering. I don't hear anything rattling. It does not pull into the left. It's not pulling to the right. It's doing everything that I expect it to do.
It is so wild to think that trucks started out as these super utilitarian vehicles, and now, but really thanks to people like you, people realize that it could soar through the air, it could do all of these different things. And yet, when you have a model like this, the Tundra TRD Rally Edition, you know, it gets to be this kind of cool throwback to what you and your team created. And really, you guys put Toyota on the map for not only just for trucks, for racing, for enthusiasts, for so many people in this country. You guys showed them Toyota in a totally different way.
Well, that's probably one of the real things that I'm proud about my racing history and career with Toyota is that a relatively small group of people from Toyota Motorsports, TRD, Precision Preparation, they help prove the durability of the Toyota vehicle. And right now, I'm proud to drive down the road. I see a whole lot of them.
Okay, this thing is great on the street, but can we take this off-road?
Oh, you betcha.
Can we take it super off-road?
You betcha.
Now that we're off-road, this feels more like home to you, right?
Oh yeah, just the only difference to me is that it wants more. I can just feel, you know, you can get it up on top of these little bumps.
Well, it's probably a good idea. We're not wearing helmets, right?
That's a good point.
We'll go easy today.
That's true.
So what was your favorite race win for Toyota?
Well, I think winning the Baja 1000 was, you know, that was, believe me, it put a smile on this Unger's face. You know, and everybody in the off-road industry, TRD, everybody knew that was the granddaddy of off-road racing, and to win that overall again is fantastic.
What's the scariest experience you ever had driving a trophy truck?
Well, one time, I thought about this a lot because I get the question a lot. One time in one of the Baja races, it could have been the 500 or the 1000, I don't remember. I was chasing a guy in the dust, and you can't see the guy that you're chasing until you get right on him. So you have to get through that dust cloud, and you hope that where he's driving, you don't turn or go off the road or something. Anyway, it almost hit the back of a dump truck, and that would have been the end of me for sure. But that was my scariest.
What do you think is the coolest race you've ever been a part of?
The coolest? Any of the Baja races. You know, there are so many people that they shut the schools down, and it's just such a big deal. If you've never been to the start of the Baja 1000 or the finish of the Baja 1000, right downtown Ensenada, they close the streets down, and the whole racetrack is filled with people. It's amazing.
Just lining it for miles, right?
For miles and miles. I mean, it's unbelievable. One of those two races.
When you crossed the finish line for the Baja 1000, when you won for Toyota, did you know you had won then?
I had a pretty good idea because the radios were so good. They told me how far back the next car was from me. Like I was saying before, somebody can bump you that's going faster.
Sure.
Just started behind you because each car is timed individually. But I had a pretty good notion that we had won.
Now, this is no trophy truck, but it does have 18-inch off-road wheels, TRD off-road tuned shocks, skid plates, 421 horsepower, 479 pound-feet of torque, a locking rear diff, and it's available with multi-terrain monitor, which shows you where your wheels are going and the terrain in front of you. So how does this truck compare to your old trophy truck, and are there any similarities?
No, No, there's no similarities, but I'm always amazed that they can build a truck with all this technology you talk about. And not only that, it's dependable technology. So it'll, like I said before, this truck, we can take it down the whole Baja 1000. It can't be a race car, it's not a trophy truck, and never have a problem. That's the part that amazes me.
For someone like you who's driven so many things, how do you like the feel of this vehicle? Like, explain to me, what do you get through the steering wheel on a truck like this?
Well, that's what I'm always really aware of more than anything, is the feedback through the steering. And I'm really sensitive to the road feel and the steering feel and the noises and the little things that probably a lot of people wouldn't even think about, but that's the start of a problem. When you have the feedback in the steering wheel, something's not right.
Sure.
So it's fantastic. The whole truck feels good to me.
So how old were you when you started racing full time?
When I was around 30 years old.
No kidding. And you did construction until you were 32?
Yes.
That is crazy. I don't think people would know that.
Well, that's the way I did. I didn't know. My wife says all the time that I do things because I just don't know I can't do it. Because very few people have been able to do what I've done in my racing career. And I just do it because I just dive in and say I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sign me up, I'll do it.
I can't believe I am ripping around in the desert with you. This is the coolest thing ever. Ivan, you are a wealth of knowledge. Thank you for taking me out and sharing so much about the TRD history.
Been my pleasure.
Ivan Stewart went on to win 47 races for Toyota, including 2 Baja 1000 wins and 13 Baja 500 wins, many of which were in this number 11 truck right here, until his eventual retirement in the early 2000s. Ivan was the perfect example of what raced on Sunday, sold on Monday. By this point, TRD parts were flying off the shelf. They were selling everything from appearance parts like fender flares and spoilers to performance parts like exhausts, intakes, suspension systems, superchargers, and even interior accessories. But Ivan and his off-road team weren't the only ones to have success in racing. Toyota was becoming a serious competitor in the Le Mans 24-hour race with a 6th place finish in 1990, a 2nd place finish in 1994, and another 2nd place finish in 1999, until taking a pause and then dominating and winning the World Endurance Championship for 5 of the last 6 years. And TRD USA had amazing success in the IMSA series, winning 1st place in 1987, like I mentioned earlier. But once they debuted the Eagle Mark III with a 2.1 liter 4-cylinder engine making a mind-bending 800 horsepower, it absolutely dominated, winning 21 of its 27 races. All of those achievements led Toyota to release the first TRD Japan consumer vehicle in 1998, the ultra-limited production TRD 2000 GT, which was a wide-body MR2 with performance and style upgrades. Also, in that same year, the first TRD off-road Tacoma went on sale in the US with improved hardware to get down the trail. Toyota continued making new racing entries all over the world, including the World Rally Championship, IndyCar, and even Formula One. Fast forward to 2004, and the Tundra became the very first Toyota to race in NASCAR, where Toyota race cars, developed by TRD, have won over 600 races and continue to see incredible success today. Back on the road, or should I say off the road, in 2012, Toyota introduced the Tacoma TRD TX Baja Special Edition. And in 2015, upped the ante when they launched the full-blown Tacoma TRD Pro, which was quickly followed by the Tundra and the 4Runner for that same model year. Next came production TRD packages for the RAV4, Camry, Avalon, and even the Sequoia TRD Pro launched in 2020. And that finally brings us to this, the 2025 Tundra TRD Rally Edition, which has a host of impressive off-road features, including that optional TRD performance package, which boosts the power to an incredible 421 horsepower. This truck exists because of the long history of TRD's success. And we're excited to see what the TRD Skunkworks engineers can pump out next, both in the factory and in the race shop. Now, since this thing's still here, I can't miss an opportunity to drive it, right? Well, apparently I can miss that opportunity because I'm not a professional race car driver. I can't take out $1 million truck on my own, but you know what? Someone can, and I'm excited to watch them. Take a look.